There we are. Excellent. Uh-oh.
Yeah, fortunately, didn't have our crack pipe out in the It's nothing I'd leave on a laptop when yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Ah, yeah, that's where I know the name from. Ooh. So you've got the tweets ready to go, maybe? Uh-oh, in the notes. Uh-oh, where is it? I need the link. Oh, fuck. Yeah, give it to me. Just save me fishing around. I'm ready when you are. I don't think there's anything I can do now.
Welcome, everyone. Hopefully you can hear us correctly. If you can't, yell at us in chat.
Yes, yell at me too, just in case I'm being blocked again. For those who are listening and don't know, we had some technical difficulties the other day.
Yes, and that aside, welcome to the Prometheans. I'm Izaran.
And I'm Radio Brain.
God, you are always slow on the catch up on that one.
I was actually just messing with you there. I was just pretending it couldn't be heard for a moment. Keeping on your toes.
Oh shit.
Uh-oh.
All right, so yeah, our audio's coming through. I just was trying to verify on my phone. So anyway, yeah, we have been out of reality for the last few weeks, to say the least.
I think even if we were in reality, we'd be out of it, given the breakdown in the commonality of any sort of public discourse, having any sort of common ground. I think if anything's been going on the last few weeks since the election, it's that the split narrative, or the two screens that Scott Adams refers to, have moved even further apart.
Mm-hmm. Oh, agreed. And before we get into things in too much detail, I just want to point out any of our regular viewers might have noticed some small improvements around here. We have this wonderful burning fire for you.
So come in and keep warm with us. Just in time for Thanksgiving. We're going to chuck a kraken on the fire and get ready to eat.
If the thumbnail is anything to go by, the answer to that is no. Alrighty, so you've got you have a lot of stuff you've set aside and ready to roll, right?
Yeah, just a few tidbits, really. I mean, there's so much we could put in, but I just picked out a few just to springboard off into talking about what's been going on.
All right, so you go ahead and take it away. I'll handle anything you want me to throw on screen, and
yep, certainly.
Other than that, I'll be here to provide feedback.
Yeah, so the first thing is basically a screenshot from a tweet that I encountered.
Is this the one that starts "so their grievances"?
Yeah. So the basic story behind this is I got in a bit of back and forth with somebody. Have you actually got the screenshot ready to go?
I do. It's already up.
About it? Yep. Okay. Sorry, I've technical difficulties here. Yep, here we go. Yeah, just grab the screenshot, I reckon, if you can.
I have it. Well, no, I have the actual tweet up itself, which I think will be
that's
better
what I mean.
Because it's got your argument with them.
Yeah, actually wanted to sort of cut that out. Just to
see that. Yeah, that's kind of what I was doing here. I just wanted to cover theirs, and then you can just comment, and I'll do an extra mile. I should honestly have done that before.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, this basically just came down to finding someone, and this is one of many examples that I saw right after the election. So this is November 6th, which would be November 5 US time.
Yeah. So that's where I'm seeing it. Yeah. Sorry.
So it's only 2 days after, and by this time this had come around, I'd see this would have been about the 5th or 6th person I'd interacted with, and probably the 100th or 200th person I'd seen bring up similar things. And I had ended up saying this person something about basically their attitude, and part of the topic was what their grievances are. And so this guy says, so their grievances are essentially due to a bunch of bad attitudes. He's referring to anyone who voted for Trump. And what I was bringing up was his attitude in basically just being extremely rude straight off the bat. And he brought up the grievances that he feels that he has, which is, as he says, countless grievances I could ask for redress for every, and he lists them off: libtard, liberal tears, snowflake, commie, safe space, colouring book, SJW. And I don't actually know what colouring book is exactly. I'm kind of guessing it has something to do with, actually, I don't know. But they're all, the thing that struck me was like, this is all like 2016, isn't it? It's a very 2016 list.
But it is. But at the same time, I've still seen a lot of that kind of commentary going around from our side of the aisle on it over the years.
True.
And, look, it's...
Hang on. Very true. But what struck me is that he hasn't added anything else, firstly.
Okay, see, that wasn't the first thing that stood out to me. The first thing that stood out to me was, after a while, that sort of banter does start to become a bit juvenile. Or, not juvenile, not juvenile, but tired. Worn out.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I actually think that a lot of that's disappeared. Not completely, but it's a lot of Trump supporters, a lot of people, who maybe not even be Trump supporters, but it may have been what was back then referred to as anti-SJWs, or concerned about, snowflake culture and so forth.
Yeah, see,
a lot of those people have moved on.
And even then, even at the peak of that stuff, when I was up to my eyeballs in that stuff, I still never really used those sorts of buzzwords, and those sorts, not buzzwords, but terms and such, because to me it always felt cheap. It always felt cheap.
Yeah. Actually, I agree with that, and that's very much been my position as well. I don't think I would have called someone a libtard.
Oh, hell, I've never called anyone a libtard unironically.
Not to their face.
No, I've never called one. I've never called one even not to their face unironically.
Yes. I might, as in what I mean is, I might, so and so over here is a lib. In fact, actually, most of the times that I've used the term libtard, it's been in the context of pointing out extremes on both sides. And something I was saying a lot ages ago is that the internet's full of libtards and conservatards. So I'm sort of being playing on that sentiment and throwing it around. It's not something
I'll throw an extra dose on that, and I'm already a self-admitted victim of Reddit. Well, not victim, but asshole.
Perpetrator.
One of my favorite subreddits is r/political compass memes, and even there, nobody calls each other by those types of things, because while that subreddit is all about trashing on everybody else on the political compass spectrum, including yourself, it's if you call someone, oh look, haha, lib left, libtard, haha, it's like everybody just looks at you and goes, you're a fucking moron. By the way, it's also, just for the record, that is also the only subreddit I have found to date where everybody across the political spectrum, your hardline communist authoritarians, your crazy social justice communists, your psychopathic borderline fascists, your and monarchists, and then your sell the children to the slavers lib-right and caps can all come together and not hate each other. Why? Because we hate one thing together: people who don't flare up.
Yeah, what do you mean? People who don't flare up? You mean
on Reddit you can on some subreddits you can add a flare that goes to after whenever you post a comment or something like that, it shows your flare after your username. On that subreddit, you put a flare in. The flare is from an option. Some subreddits will have a drop-down option that will be associated with your position on the political compass. The one thing everybody on political compass memes hates are people who don't flare up.
What does it mean though to flare up? What is that?
All right, so I'll actually bring the subreddit up on the stream here. Oh Christ! Browsing Reddit without the add-on, it just feels like cancer. I don't know how to check.
Is that an add-on that deletes the cancer from it before you have a look?
No, it's not an add-on that deletes cancer. Give me a second here. I'm actually going to bring the subreddit up proper. I'll be logged in, but okay, I have the same username on Reddit as I have here, so don't fucking care. My username's pretty much something that'll be found at some point. When we get big enough, people are going to hate us anyway.
Yep, that's why my email is...
I'm kind of looking at it as...
I've never noticed it.
If we ever get big enough, we're going to get doxxed anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the reasons my email is not the doxing, the complaints. My email for this account is radiobraincomplaints@gmail.com.
Yep. That's a great idea.
I like chosen.
I like that idea. Yep. All right, give me a second here. I'm going to bring up a new window capture that'll have the... Anything of note? No, yep, nothing incriminating. All right, here. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's shrink that down.
Crack pipe alert! Crack pipe alert!
No, just the window. The window was huge when I first streamed it. So.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, I know you get picky about the alignment for these things. I am not going to sit here and carefully dose the alignment out in the middle of a stream.
Oh, that's all right.
All right, so this is the subreddit, and first of all, that is a fantastic banner. Everybody wants to go after the centrist in the middle who just wants to grill.
Yes.
So you'll see here, this is with an add-on for, you can get it for every web browser, called the Reddit Enhancement Suite. So on here, you'll see I've got my username, I've got my flare, which is libwrite, and this is what I mean. You can flare up. You can select a flare for the way your comments show up on the subreddit. So if we go ahead and look at this wonderful meme here. You'll see that if I leave, you'll see that other people who have comments have their flares showing up. You can see the dirty, filthy centrists. You can see the dirty, filthy authoritarians. You can see the idiots who can't make up with their mind whether they're authoritarian or liberal.
Okay, so you get down to the centrist, and he's immediately being dogpiled with a lot of responses.
Well,
is that what I'm saying here?
Kind of, sort of. Centrists actually have a great deal of respect on the subreddit. That's because, again, the filthy, dirty, nasty, keep coming back punishment
by the looks of it.
Oh yeah, and they put up a fight. It's just the filthy, nasty, dirty, unflared bastard. Let me see if I can find an example of someone saying flare up.
Actually, quick question about that banner.
Yeah?
Yeah, they go. What's with the green dude near the middle with the red dude?
That's supposed to represent the people who label themselves as simply left. You'll see the same thing with the fat guy on the right who's yellow and blue.
Yeah, but he sort of looks like he's on the cusp, he's a fat cat.
Well, yeah, it's just how the artist did things. But
that seems appropriate. And he's also sort of in the middle between the yellow and blue, but over here, kind of thought it might be something else, a bit more sinister. That
here we go.
Full-blooded.
Here's an unflared scumbag.
Okay. By the way, please do not dox this person. Please do not go on.
Yeah. Please don't go after this person. This is Reddit, but still. So you see it right there, and so you've got unflared gang rise up and an adequate. Well,
asking for it.
Well, a filthy centrist nonetheless.
Out in front of a lion.
Oh, you will rise, all right, when you get neck roped. /S means sarcasm for those who are uninitiated. Now go get a flare. Exactly. Flare up. I'll even do it.
Yeah. Okay, I think I know what you mean now. Actually, this is a good segue back into what we were talking about before. So, yeah, go back to that other tweet.
Yeah, I left the subreddit. All right, so let me bring the... All right, so here we are. Man, we're probably going to get yeeted from YouTube for that one, but that's my fault. Prometheans 2. Fiery Boogaloo.
So you've got the.
Wait, let's not let's not name the second channel that will get yeeted immediately. All right, so yeah, I got the tweet up.
Yep. So you got so this guy's complaining about those words, right? Now you've just had that subreddit up where people seem to be quite open about flinging dirt, verbally speaking.
Yeah, but it's all in good fun over there, though.
Yes, but one of the key things about this response, what stood out to me, and as I said, this is not the only person complaining about these things. This guy just happened to give a list of it in such an orderly fashion. And as I said, these are words that they also get used ironically, and also ironic. So you got to wonder, where is this guy actually hearing this? What's he really reacting to? Because firstly, he's not reacting to me, because I actually approached this Twitter thread with a certain attitude, which is not to kind of approach it objectively. I won't go back over it, but I just went and pointed out that I think someone was being a bit cruel, or asking something like, is this actually was their original point proven by evidence or something like that? Don't go back to it. Don't go back to it.
I'm sorry. My mouse accidentally flicked. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to, because there's a lot you could read into this. And secondly, I didn't want to show the guy's name because I don't want to harass anyone, and I don't even want to be seen to be doing that. But maybe too late on this occasion. Anyway, so he's got these words, right? Where's he hearing them? And what is he reading that's actually giving him this? And I'll put money on it that he's overreacting in some respect or another. And that's what struck me about it being like from 2016. These words tend to get used ironically. SJW sometimes gets used seriously. It's always used casually because really people have moved on to commie. Hey, commie is something that that's probably the only one on the list that I think anyone would actually use in any sort of political disagreement, argument, and so forth. But they also, but the others can be are pretty silly. So like snowflake, like you could. That's something that's entered the vernacular of most people anyway. I've seen people IRL using the term snowflake just casually. It doesn't mean it's not a term that's purely applied to people on the left anymore. It's applied to it's not just applied to crybaby SJWs who've escaped from Tumblr. It's become part of common usage, and it is. This list just seems wrong to me, and I can't help but think this guy is just been attributing something to it is or misinterpreting it. And
I accidentally muted you for about 2 seconds.
Okay, fuck it. What did you miss? I guess. Yeah,
it was just the part. It was just. I would just say, just roll yourself back about 2 sentences.
I have forgotten now.
All right, then continue with your train of thought.
I was on a roll.
Oh, God damn it!
That was a one time.
Hey, look!
It was a special
hey, look, everybody!
Limited edition frame of mind.
Look, everybody! We at least got the audio issues. Now you get to go back to watching Izaran fuck everything up in the back end. If you watch us for serious in-depth commentary, you're at the wrong place.
Oh no. You are very much at the right place. But if you're expecting in-depth serious commentary without complete and utter bollocks,
okay, that's fair. If you're expecting technical competence, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah, I'll move on to the last sentence, which is also another point of interest. He said, it's a good thing we don't protest when our feelings get hurt. Now, am I the only one not seeing the irony of that statement?
No.
Because I hope not. I mean, he has just complained about this list of words, which are their grievances. Now, I can't see any other way that this is anything but about hurt feelings. It's not. It's about being name called. And he said, oh, but it's a good thing we don't protest. It's all, the irony that he is actually protesting it effectively in making this statement. And from there, I'm also thinking, I wonder what this guy's done regards to, has he used any terms towards people of other political persuasions? Has he been calling people Nazis? Has he been calling people far right? Has he been calling content creators that say things he doesn't agree with? Has he been calling them grifters? And that's, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he actually did. In this case, I don't know. I'm not going to go over it, but some of the other people I saw making these sort of statements, that's what they're doing. They're going around calling people, if they mention Dave Rubin, it's, oh, he's just a grifter. Oh, look, it's Tim Pool, just a grifter. This sentiment really stood out to me because of the what I would call a really severe lack of self-awareness, but also a really severe lack of just awareness of what the hell is going on in the world and what's been going on online. And so these sort of people who are, very much celebrating, they're over the moon that Trump's been elected out. They are, as I said, I did not go into this deliberately causing provocation, and I didn't state my position. And it just spun off straight into this and a couple of other threads where people were getting their hump up because they feel aggrieved. And they, at the first sign of questioning them, they came at me. So what does that say about them?
Yeah.
And that was, so really the point, the key thing here before we move on is this was the first sign of where things were going regards to the mentality of people post-election being pleased at the idea of Trump leaving. And it's, I did not see terribly much said about policy changes from these people. I didn't see anything in particular about beliefs or opinions or tangible, actionable political activities. No, I just saw a lot of screeching. And you might also remember this is right around the time that Sam Harris became the screeching girl of 2020. I don't have a screenshot of that, but did you see it? Sam Harris was blown up, and he had it.
I actually don't think I have, because I haven't followed Sam Harris as much as I used to.
Yeah, mostly I wasn't because really following him either.
Mostly because
everyone else was.
Well, the biggest reason why I kind of fell off from following Sam was because you listen to the guy enough, and man, the dude should read audiobooks because he can put your ass to sleep. That's not an insult to Sam. Sam's a great thinker, a great speaker. It's just he's got that soothing, calm voice that can just relax you and put you to sleep. So
yeah, I actually I've never been a big fan of his, and I mean even back when he had that blow up with Ben Affleck, I wasn't overly impressed by Sam. I sort of looked at the situation as a sign of the times and a shift in the way where the argument is happening, because you've got effectively two put it loosely, left-leaning progressive people having this argument. And I don't think that Ben Affleck was behaving himself in the way he should have. But I also don't condemn him entirely for being angry at Sam, even though I think he was probably coming from a very misplaced, a misguided sort of origin. But then it wasn't without basis. And I think that when he raised a few points, Sam was incapable of actually dealing with it. He seemed to be sitting there thinking, hey, I'm the smart guy in the room here. I'm not, I shouldn't be argued with. And so I know a lot of people at the time were, raging at Ben, but I thought Sam was pretty weak as well in that situation. And then,
well, of the four horsemen, the only one I really, really found, the only two I really, really found to be of, I don't know, the kind of thing that just keeps your attention is Dawkins and, well, of course, the late great Hitchens. But of the two, I think that watching how Dawkins has kind of changed over the last 6-7 years, I can't see Hitchens as having changed negatively in the same way.
No, I doubt that as well, by the way. Did you remember a while back I told you I was autobiography? And he sort of details an awareness of where things were going. He was very left-wing. He was part of the International Socialists back in the 60s.
Oh, so no, I thought you chopped out for a second when you said something autobiography.
Hitch 22, I read.
That's been his one book I've been meaning to get around to, because I've read most of his other books.
Yeah. Actually, I'm just going to grab it because there's something I just remembered, speaking of Sam Harris. Give me a moment. Sorry about that. I just had to reach back and grab the book. I'm not sure if this is going to be... This is actually... I just happened... Speaking of Sam Harris's tweet, I just happened to be reading this right after seeing a lot of those tweets from Sam Harris. And it's on the very last page. It was a bit freaky. I'll just read it out. I'm hoping it'll connect well. It's the last page, and the only thing left in the book is about 2 pages or page and a half of acknowledgements, which is addendum enough, probably meaningless. But there's this paragraph. It says, to have spent so long learning so relatively little, and then to be menaced in every aspect of my life by people who already know everything and who have all the information they need. More depressing still, to see that in the face of this vicious assault, so many of the best lack all conviction, hesitating to defend the society that makes their existence possible, while the worst are full to the brim and boiling over with murderous exultation. And that just jumped out to me because I just thought of Sam Harris immediately. His response to this he was basically
it's an encapsulation of it. It's an encapsulation.
Yeah, we've got to get rid of Trump. We've got to get rid of Trump. But all the while ignoring what I think Hitchens was referring to as the worst, which is, I think what he was referring to, given when he died and what had been going on, and what he also covers in the book, is he was talking about everything from terrorists to people supporting murderous regimes. And it struck me like this seemed like this is a paragraph that seemed like it could have been written today. It is.
Yeah.
And I think it ties in also with this tweet that we've covered and a few other things, and the whole, the whole vibe of what's been going on, which is a lot of people they're not able to grasp what the hell's going on, and they've sided with groups and actors that have been abhorrent, while at the same time, or I should say, not being very intelligent, despite having a lot of intelligence.
Well, and that's actually, you think back the last few years, that's always been a kind of a frustration with Sam, is he's right on the edge of understanding the problems within progressivism and the left. But he can't cross that threshold. He's not like, say, Brett Weinstein, who not only sees the problems, but is able to cross the threshold and say, yeah, there are serious problems with my political camp. It's like, in a way, Sam Harris kind of reminds me of having a little bit of what I'm starting to call shoe on headism, which is the obsession with being just against the other side, the identity of being against the other side. Willing to talk about and recognize certain specific examples of problems within one's camp, but not able or willing to connect the dots to see where the roots of where those problems are rooted in. An area where, as much as I've talked about how I've just grown really frustrated with, say, Shu, is she's still, to this day, and good on her for this, rails heavily against the maps and, the pedophile accepting fuckwits. But she doesn't, it's like she is unwilling or blind to the root of why that sort of behavior became acceptable within the left. Sam has a similar issue, but at a much deeper intellectual level, I think.
Yeah, I think I think that his biggest problem goes back to certain foundational things that he won't question, and one of those, or something that has drawn those out, is Trump. I don't know if you remember back in 2017, people were saying that he should talk to Scott Adams on his podcast. And when he eventually did, he could not grasp the fact that Scott Adams was not talking about this as someone who was pro-Trump, but as someone who's making an objective analysis of the situation. And that is something I would expect Sam Harris to understand. I would expect him not to look at that and say, and to deride it. And that was I was about to say you can always go back and watch it, but I personally would not actually recommend it. If someone wants to, go for it. But it was not pleasant to hear, and it was, in a way, at the time.
Well, see, a lot of this kind of reflects into like. See, I got a good example. Okay, I think I have a better example than say Shu and Sam, Tim Pool and Sam, because Tim Pool is willing to have conversations, even if he's adversarial, even if he's opposite. If he's playing defensively or aggressively, whatever shape of adversity he's playing with them, he's at least willing to have on people he doesn't really like, he doesn't agree with, and talk to them. Hear them out. Let them dig their own holes. Let them take them apart. It reminds me of what actually really tuned me into, say, Dave Rubin. Do you know what really tuned me? We haven't talked about this one before, but do you know what really tuned me into Dave Rubin? His initial sit down with Larry Elder, where Larry Elder took him behind the woodshed and whipped his ass on race issues. And Dave Rubin talks about this fairly often when he talks about his relationship with Larry Elder, which has become a very good friendship. And it's that, and it wasn't necessarily something that completely convinced Dave Rubin to change his mind. Another example of this with Dave Rubin is he sat down with somebody who he originally thought he fundamentally disagreed with on a lot of things, Ben Shapiro. And what's this now? They're very good friends. Why? It's not because they agree with each other. It's because they are willing and able to sit down and have the conversations. And even if they can't come to terms with them, they refuse to allow their politics to consume their identity. And too many people, right-wing and left-wing, have done that. And Sam Harris, I feel, is right on the edge between allowing his politics to consume him and seeing why politics shouldn't consume him. It's kind of the opposite of Thunderfoot in a lot of ways. He's let his politics completely consume him. Or Jeff Holiday let his politics completely consume him. And it's a shame. I hate it when people do shit like that. So, now come on, say something, man. I don't want to fill in the dead air.
Sorry, I actually muted myself. I'm now the
you're the jackass now who fucks up the buttons.
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, at least I'm the one with the master control switches. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, I think with Thunderfoot and Jeff Holiday that you've mentioned, I think there's actually more to it. And I was thinking, because of where we're going to go with this stream, I was going to bring it up later. I wasn't actually going to mention their names, but I might as well bring it up now. They are part of they're part of a sort of group. Like, they obviously came out of the anti-SJW sphere that was on years ago, but that group seem to disintegrate, starting with Trump becoming president. And it seems to me, in their case, something that drives them. I don't think it's the only thing. I think there are probably lots of other factors.
Actually,
hang on.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. I don't think it's only that, but one thing that's clear is they don't seem to be willing to look at the situation with Trump and appraise him in a very objective way, to look at pros and cons and understand the framing of his good points and bad points. In fact, they probably won't even acknowledge the good points, for all I know. And they haven't been able to separate things. And what I hear from them is there's been some very shallow statements about what to make of Trump. And when it comes to, say, discussing some issue that's unfolding, they'll often just segue off into they'll just say it's Trump's fault. They'll just say they just go back to that orange man bad. They can't do it. And I think that in the case of Sam Harris, he's gone down this rabbit hole because he can't wrap his head around it. And that's that is a major problem. And to tell you the truth, I'm willing to forgive them to the extent that, I can understand that on that front, Trump has actually been pretty divisive in that he's not everyone's cup of tea. And there are some people don't want his certain behaviors to be present within someone who's going to be the president or any world leader. But I wonder if Biden wins and things move on, I wonder if some of those people might suddenly about turn, and suddenly are they going to start critiquing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
See, that's going to be the indicator for me, because up until even about a year ago or so, I would still watch like Jeff Holiday's Wingnut Roundup every month, but he started getting more and more political and more aggressive with it. And one thing a big beef of mine with Jeff is, controversial warning here, people, is Jeff really strikes me as supporting mandatory vaccination, and he's really aggressive about that. And to the point where I started to pick up vibes that he was starting to link people who oppose mandatory vaccination as being in the same crowd as anti-vaxxers. That's just how I took things. So if that's not what he was implying or meaning, by all means, correct me in the comments. But I'm not an anti-vaxxer. God, Jesus Christ. I've been battling anti-vaxxers for over 16 years. I had my first encounter with them when I was 14. But still.
Well, that's what an anti-vaxxer would say.
I fucking hate anti-vaxxers. They're morons. I just don't think that power should be centralized to a point where someone with power can force you to have something put into you that you don't want. My body, my choice. Where does that argument sound familiar? And if that argument applies to one thing, it applies to all things. That aside.
Yes, but you're not seeking an abortion, so
yeah, I'm not seeking to take life. I'm seeking to save life.
privilege.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Anyway, but still, the point still stands. It's I control my integrity. I control and possess the integrity of my own body. Nobody else should be able to force me to put something into me, which is, and there's a lot of nuance to that argument, and that's a completely different subject. It's just, I started to drift away because I was getting more and more vibes of something that smelled uncomfortably authoritarian. And then...
Yeah, I think he's overcompensating.
And then
I think
suddenly...
many other people are doing it.
Well, and then suddenly, there was almost kind of like there was this click with him, where he just went, like, right off the deep end with the politics stuff. And I'm like, okay, you know what? No, Jeff, I don't want you for politics. I watch you for the science. I watch you for your background and information on biology and science. And I want you to enjoy the glory that is the conspiracy side of YouTube, which, to be fair, Wingnut Roundup's probably been slowly dying because YouTube's been yeeting all the conspiracy theorists off, which is really boring. Susan, if you're listening, stop banning conspiracy channels. They're fucking hilarious.
Well, she can't, it's a bit late for that. She can't stop because it's too late, probably. Or actually, no, that's probably why they're turning in on anyone and everyone that disagrees with them. I mean, it's given what counts as a conspiracy theory right now.
Oh man, I love the shit when you get to sit there and listen to some guy ramble on about chemtrails for an hour straight. It's some of the funniest content on the internet. And they go and yeet that. They just go in and ban it. It's like, no, this stuff's funny. Everybody with half a functioning brain knows these people are out of their wits. A brief cursory view through the comments section.
Yeah,
anyway, my point is some of these people, they've just gone really, really, really crazy, really, really far off the deep end with some of it. And because they can't divorce their politics from their normal content, I have a hard time continuing to follow them. There's a YouTuber I watched, or used to watch, for his reviews of young adult fiction and stuff. Not because that's stuff I like to read, but because his reviews were amusing. And then he would do videos on book series and stuff that do good world building and bad world building. It was really entertaining stuff. And then he started to go political.
It's funny because people like, you mentioned Thunderfoot and Jeff Holiday, they're both people who have said that they're not doing politics anymore, but they continue to drop that in.
They continue to drop it in, and then you go and look at them. They all say the same thing. Hey, follow me on social media, and then you go and you look at their social media, and their social media is nothing but politics.
Yeah, and in the case of, I think that claim has sort of gone to shit because of COVID, and because they're coming from the science background.
That has thrown a whole new wrench into it. Oh my God, that has thrown a whole new wrench into it. It was like, COVID's actually a good transition to the next point, and that's been this, I would say, this whole election shit. The Turkraken, which is the name of the stream.
Yeah, I reckon let's move on to that.
Yeah, I want to move on to that one. Tweet. Get that one. Oh, yep, the next tweet.
I've dropped it. Just put the screenshot up. Don't put the whole thing up, because just put the screenshot up.
All right, I'll have to pull
it in the notes.
I'll pull that off the window capture for a moment.
Save it, open it in the browser, and then
that's what I'm going to
do. It'll come up by itself.
Is this the I don't understand tweet?
Yep.
All right, let me grab that. Go ahead and screen cap that. Son of a bitch.
You just dropped it anyway. Nah, you ruined it.
Oh, Christ on a cracker. I didn't hit transition. There, gone.
Yep.
Now let me get it. And of course, if we have anyone who's a quick and clever troll, they'll have already snapped it. And shame on you if you did, you nasty trolling
We do not support harassment of any
Do
kind
not
whatsoever.
contact anybody that we list in our streams under any circumstances. This is unacceptable behavior, and if we find out you do it, I will not be afraid to kick you from our Discord and put you on a block list or whatever the hell it is on the rest of our social media. I will not tolerate harassing people.
Now, arguing with people when you have
arguing with them is one thing.
Very different.
But as a rule, do not contact, do not harass, do not etc. anyone that we accidentally fuck up with, because we're trying here. We're trying. Okay, hold on, give me a second here.
We can't stop you contacting them, but do not do it in a way that will be harassment. If you want to go and argue with anyone, please be respectful about it.
Twitter is supposed to be officially a public forum, but I like to try to respect people's privacy, because I tend to be a very
well. Actually, person. Something else. Yep, something I want to say here is I find that these tweets that we're showing, I think these people are extremely rude or tending towards that by virtue of how they're speaking and what they're giving away about themselves. And this is, as I said earlier, these are just a couple of examples out of hundreds. But I think this reaction is something. It's coming from people who are effectively just rude. They're being nasty. It's name calling. They're making too many assumptions before they start talking to someone. And what I would suggest to anyone, if you end up talking to them, try not to sink to their level.
There we go.
It's actually pretty hard sometimes, but don't do that.
It is. But and like I said, Twitter is still technically a public forum. You can still technically have these sorts.
Yeah, but you can still harass people. My point is,
you can, and that's why I want people.
Part of the reason, yeah.
Now,
hang on. Stop a second. I wanted to clarify that, because you can still harass people and be a shithead on Twitter. I don't think it's necessary. And you know what you're doing. If you're being mean-spirited in it, the reason I'm advising that is because we have to be better. If we want, this isn't just about whether Trump or Biden wins. This is about being better in the face of the current situation, which is something that's pretty much tearing us all apart. And I can see, we could cover this at another time, but I see the world being civility and respect are diminishing. They've never been perfect, but they are diminishing rapidly. And I think a lot of these people have come out of the woodwork with an attitude which is very bad. In fact, I just noticed before, the original tweet that these whole threads came off of was someone complaining about people, a bunch of pro-Trump people in Arizona outside a counting station, gathering peacefully, not doing anything bad or illegal, and actually conducting themselves in a very good manner. And these people are all of the opinion, the ones that I'm highlighting here, and they're of the opinion that that is somehow awful, while at the same time describing them in such a disrespectful manner.
Well, also at the same time,
not willing to acknowledge that they may actually have a grievance. And which is funny, because we just showed one tweet where the guy's saying, oh, well, what about our grievances? As well, dude, you being called a snowflake isn't really that much compared to someone having their election rigged and being told to look the other way if anything bad happens. It's another version of it's one rule for me, another for thee.
Yes, and by the way, when it comes to our third option, or the third tweet out here, what I will not do is I will not censor out the blue check marks.
We'll come to that in a second.
Well, our third one is from the.
No, it's not actually. We'll come back to that. When we get to it, because I think we might have had a mix up over which one's the third one. But yeah, let's get back into the tweet. And we'll remind me to say that before you put it up.
We'll do. So I'll make sure I have the right one. So here, you go ahead and read it.
Yeah. So as I said before, this came out of a thread where someone was bitching about people gathering at one of the counting stations in Arizona. I think it was the Maricopa one, and I think I pronounced that right. And
Maricopa, that's close enough.
Yeah, Maricopa. Basically gathering peacefully. They weren't storming the building. They weren't threatening. They were praying and singing together, and they didn't peacefully protest. Oh, hang on, no, they were peacefully protest. So I forget whether I'm being ironic with that term or not. And this person has ended up saying, I don't understand why they can't just suck it up like they told us to do in 2016 when we outvoted them by 3 million. So here we go again. Let's unpack it. Did this person actually get told to suck it up? Or have they fixated on this over the last 4 years?
I don't know. See, I never told anybody to suck it up.
How does she know that any of those people said to suck it up? If she were to go there and ask them, they might have turned and said, look, well, if you had legitimate concerns, you have a right to peaceful assembly. You have a right to any legal means that you can to have your issues addressed. And I wonder, it also with some of these people, did they actually, how have they actually behaved? I mean, have they been, did they throw a skateboard at someone? Have they...
Are you talking about the last 4 years or in the last 3 weeks?
Well, anywhere in the last 4 years, actually. How have they behaved in that time?
Okay, to be perfectly fair, I think that most people have, I'd say probably 70% plus. No, I'll be a little bit more charitable than that. I'd say about 85% plus of people who opposed Donald Trump in 2016 have conducted themselves fairly normally.
I would argue that it would depend on what's defined as being normal. I mean,
as in they were
firstly
they still
at the
remain
extreme,
polite around people.
Are they? That's what I'm questioning. Are they being polite? So
I have more faith.
Hang on. On the extreme level, did they? For all I know, this person has gone to. This person looted somewhere in the George Floyd looting, rioting, and so forth. For all I know, I'm not saying they have.
Of course.
I don't know enough about it. And there could be like a whole spectrum from that all the way down to doing nothing. But how do I know where they are? Maybe do they go about their daily life being polite? Because I know people who go about their daily life being polite, but you bring up certain subjects and they can be extremely rude, and they don't seem to know that they're doing it.
The number of examples you've got from the lads down at the pub.
Yeah, I mentioned that. Let's not go into that.
Well, no, I'm not going to go into detail on that one, but just, the number, I know exactly what you mean. There are people that they seem to behave and act polite, and then you bring up that one thing, and bam.
As I mentioned, you don't even have to do that. The for the purpose of the stream, I won't go into it, except to say a subject came up and someone jumped down my throat because of, or got in my face because of me questioning that maybe Google is not information collated purely from people of scientific expertise. And that, I think, basically stems off this fear that Donald Trump is anti-science, therefore any questioning whatsoever is therefore tantamount to denying science, which is, by the way, if you think about what scientists do, one of the things about being a scientist is being subject to peer review, i.e. being questioned. Technically, scientists would be anti-science.
That's actually an interesting. Nice. That's an interesting thing because I have always understood the concept of empiricism, which is an often cited thing, as supposed to be you have to trust the science. Empirical science says this. And it's like, okay, do you know what the word empirical means? Empiricism is which if you follow the scientific method under the process of empiricism, the whole point of the process isn't to prove something, it's to disprove something. And therefore that which you are unable to disprove must be true.
Yeah.
I think that's a great model.
First and foremost, it's got to be tested.
Exactly, which is the point of the testing. And empiricism
therefore questioned. Yeah.
Yes. And if you can't... So a lot of people have this idea in their heads that the scientific method is about proving something. No, it's the opposite. It's about disproving things. It's why the process is supposed to be repeated. The whole principle is, test something. You find an inconclusion, that means it failed the test. Repeat. You disproved that you disproved that experiment. Maybe you haven't disproved the hypothesis yet, but you disproved that experiment. Try something new. It's a great idea.
Just keep in mind, actually, like I said, I don't want to go into it all now to tell the story to everyone, but one of those people that I have had trouble with, he's perfectly aware of the scientific method. Just keep that in mind, that he's willing to get on his fucking high horse and complain when he can cherry pick when exactly he will apply that. And it largely comes with that these guys have this idea in their head that I'm some kind of far-right neo-Nazi whatever. But that's another story. Come back to this tweet straight away.
Well, we were talking about people's, quote, sucking it up. The whole... How have they behaved over the last 4 years? And I actually have another thought.
Yeah, what was it?
Well, I was going back to my whole that, I want to say about 85% of people have probably conducted themselves fairly well. And since you mentioned some things that made me reconsider that a little bit, I'd say probably about 78%. Because I think that in the case of the U.S. election, at least here in the States, most Americans who voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016 have still conducted themselves fairly regular. However, I do think one of the things that and this has been a steadily growing thing in American politics, right wing and left wing, and I think we're probably going to see the exact same thing in the far right over the next 4 years, and that is we've gotten to this point where each election cycle, a growing subsect of the losing side has, and it grows every time they lose, has become more and more disillusioned with the efficacy of our electoral process, and they've become more and more disconnected from the current political system. You can read good things, there are good things and bad things about that, and that goes for the left and the right. The biggest good thing I would have to say that comes out of it is a disillusionment with the way that the political process in the United States works. I think is a good thing, because our political process is a fucking joke. It is an insult to the framers. the Robert Barnes likes to talk about this one, and it's a really apt example. The whole Schoolhouse Rock's "I Am a Bill" song and dance story. If you've ever seen it, it's classic. If you haven't, just check out Schoolhouse Rock's "I Am a Bill." It's supposed to. The whole little thing is a little cartoon from the 60s or the 70s that explains how an idea becomes a bill, becomes a law. And it goes through the process of how it's supposed to work in the Constitution. That's not how it happens, though. What happens is a special interest group takes a bunch of Congress people out for expensive lunches and offers campaign donations and says, hey, we want to get this bill through. That's not the process. There's corruption at the barest basic level. And a lot more and more each electoral cycle. When the left loses, when the right loses, doesn't matter. They get more and more disillusioned with how the system functions. That I think is a good thing because I think it's a good thing because a corrupt system can only carry itself so far until it collapses.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that's going to come out of the current situation with Trump challenging the election, which I really wish...
Well, the anti-war left is going to go away for 4 years.
You mean another 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, they've been out. They've been out with the crazies for the last 4 years, even though they had no reason to be out. Everything that they wanted was being done.
Well, anti-war lefties. No, they've been in hibernation for the last 4 years. They were anti-war. Then Trump pulled out of.
No, they disappeared.
Didn't go to war, and
they disappeared. They disappeared on January 20th, 2009, and then they came back January 20th, 2016. They've only made lukewarm appearances, and
I think they've been absent completely. De facto,
they mostly the actual serious, the actual serious anti-war, which is not the far left loonies, the actual serious anti-war people. Yes, they've been absent. Why? Because the last 4 years they've been getting what they wanted. Yeah, I've been with them. Actually. I've absolutely been with them on it. It's just the previous 8 years they were inconspicuously silent.
Well, I don't know. I think I don't want to go too much of that subject.
Oh yeah, different subject.
It depends on who you. No, I don't mean it's different. It's just it's a big one to go into. I think that's something that we might be thinking of very different groups of people here.
That's possible too. Because I've been anti-war for most of my adulthood.
Yeah. I know a lot of people a lot of things that I'm thinking of as anti-war. They have been saying Trump's pro-war.
I'm gonna retract something there.
Yeah.
I think it's idiotic to say anti-war because I'm not. When I say I've been anti-war for most of my adulthood, no, that's not true. I have been anti-Wilsonian war for the most of my adulthood. And for anyone who's listening who's not familiar with what I mean, the whole concept of America as the shining city on a hill, the concept of America as the global policeman comes from my favorite pinata, Woodrow fucking Wilson. I wish the man's actual middle name was fucking, because that would be perfect.
Is it Woodrow F. Wilson?
No. If it was, that would be even better. That would be because I could keep it PG.
Yeah, so I think the last thing to say here is...
hell, actually, Woodrow's his middle name.
Yeah.
His actual name was Thomas Woodrow Wilson.
Oh, okay.
God damn it! Anyway, that's my middle name. Thomas.
Oh, Doubting Thomas, eh? Yeah. Hey, I've got 2 out of 3 of your names. You've almost doxed yourself to me.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I just have to crack one more open.
Yeah, I guarantee you do not share my last name.
And you're going to get a dead rat on your fucking doorstep any moment. I'm almost there.
See, the thing is... Okay, anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so the last thing to say on this tweet is I do admire the sort of subconscious, almost subconscious way in which they're being very honest in the first 3 words or 3.5.
Well,
with the "I don't understand," which is at least this person is. I think this idea, like the key thing of like, oh, they just said suck it up, and and then the bitter thing of raising the 3 million votes. By the way, I think it was only 2 or something, wasn't it? Because the counting of it actually changed after the day of it. Anyway, let's not dwell on. Let's not. Actually, look it up while I'm babbling.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so this is according to Wikipedia, so take that with a grain of salt. Actually, let me double check their sources. Okay, it's the Federal Elections Commission. Their source is the Federal Elections Commission. So, not officially a government body, but the closest you're going to get. Trump. Okay, so the 2016 election. I'll go winner and loser first. All right. So electoral votes. Donald Trump won 304 electoral votes. He carried 30 states.
No, don't for that. Don't worry about that. Just go straight for the.
To Hillary Clinton's 227, and Donald Trump won 62,984,828 votes. Hillary Clinton won 65,853,514. She won by a margin of just under 3 million.
So what was it? 62.9 to.
I'm
65.
running it through a calculator before you even start.
No. Just give me the number. I'm not asking. There's no calculation required. I mean,
62.
How many minutes?
62
million. Just the million. I want the.
You want the first 2 decimal places for this. Seriously.
No, I don't. I just want 6. I want the number of millions. That's what I'm asking.
62 versus 65.
Yeah. No. The as in the what's the thousand? As in the point. As in 62.9 for Trump, 65 point something million for Hillary. Yep. Okay. 8. Okay. That was. Yeah. Because that is okay. So it is just under 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she is. Yeah. Okay. It's close to 3 million. I'll give her that. But I do know that if I remember, I'm pretty positive this happened, that the Electoral College was called with less of a margin for Trump.
It was because
and it changed.
She conceded.
No. Nothing to do with her conceding. I mean that on the night of the election, we were given a number.
And it was a margin of 2.8. It was a margin of 2.8 million, by the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Although that, as you said, we can't necessarily trust those sources. But yeah,
it was the Federal Elections Commission. It was the Federal Elections Commission. The Wikipedia source is the Federal Elections Commission. Is the closest you're going to get to an official body source.
Yeah.
It's a source that has the littlest amount of interest in lying to us as possible.
Oh, but who can you trust these days?
I know, that's the fucking problem. You can't trust the media, you can't trust the government, you can't trust the government-affiliated bodies. God damn it. I swear to God, we need to make ourselves a couple of tinfoil hats.
I thought you'd already have one.
I don't! I need to!
No. Tinfoils are out. Tinfoil beanies are the new thing.
That's right! Alex got that going for us.
And we've probably just been nuked off of YouTube. Thanks.
I only said the first.
No, you said Alex Jones. Oh, fuck, now I've said
you fucked us. God damn it.
Yeah. So, just want to wrap up on this tweet. I'm looking at it, and this person says, I don't understand, et cetera, what they say. They don't understand. They don't understand because they're framing it totally wrong. And obviously, because it's a tweet, you can't read into everything, but you always have to wonder, why would a person, if you write a tweet, if you've got the limitation of 280 characters, you've always got to ask yourself, why does a person put up what they do? Why do they not filter it? Because if I was struggling to put something in a tweet, and sometimes I don't always say what I mean to, but if I'm struggling, I will be careful about not saying certain things. And if I imagine if I was in their position, I would think, okay, outvoted by 3 million. I would not say that. Why? Because I know how the Electoral College, how the electoral votes break down.
And
I
that's
know
actually
that
where you hit the wedge with some of these people.
Yeah, this is where you get disproportionate representation, and I think it's. I wonder if someone like this maybe has once known that, or maybe they've never known it, because that is a major chink in their position. So that's the first one. I wouldn't say that. I would be like, well, someone can just come straight back and go, "Hey, Bubba, you ever heard of the Electoral College?"
If I recall,
I've been owned. Oh my God, I've been owned. Oh, bug! I wouldn't step in that turd.
If I recall, before the election even happened, and actually, it might have been before we even got our podcast started, because I think we actually no, it might have been around the time. It might even be in one of our streams. I think it was you had some questions about how the whole electoral process works, and I went through some of it with you. So it's that also begs me an additional question. Now, I imagine the person who tweeted this is an American, because when they say we outvoted, they're not saying they, were outvoted or something like that. Because you can kind of tell, I have noticed that you can kind of tell, especially on Twitter, you can kind of tell the type of person who has and hasn't voted, or the type of person who is and isn't an American, by how they talk about American politics.
No, you can't. Mate, no. I'm going to totally nuke your theory right there.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I've had a lot of arguments over Twitter in the last 4 years where I end up in a position where I'm just dumbfounded, thinking, why is me, an Australian, explaining the American electoral system to Americans?
Oh, I'm not talking about whether or not they understand whether or not they're American citizens who understand our electoral system. I'm just saying, based on the language. Like this person right here, I'm fairly certain they are an American who voted because of the way that they worded things when we outvoted them. I couldn't imagine somebody like an Aussie like yourself talking about American politics says that. Anyway, but I know that, especially when it comes to people who aren't Americans, might not have an understanding of our electoral system, which is fine. However, when we're talking about Americans who have the right to vote, not understanding jack shit about our electoral system...
Well, this is what I was alluding to before.
That's a fucking problem!
This is what I was alluding to before. Is it a case that they don't know it, or is it that they've just forgotten it, or they... This could also go back to what you mentioned earlier about disillusionment with the system. And in fact, I think the Electoral College
is a great idea.
This side of it is it's sort of like asymmetric proportionality across the states regarding their power to vote is actually one of the things that's best about it. And I think that it's because here in Australia,
wait, reword that for me. Something. Did you say asymmetric proportionality across the states?
Yeah, I'm sort of making up a term there, but that's basically what it is. It's not symmetric across. It's proportional to the. There is a proportional representation in terms of.
It's a great. Okay, you're right. It's a great idea when you understand why it's that way. That's the key. The key is, why is it that way? And most people don't understand this. I have close friends who think it's an outdated system, and it can be really difficult to explain why that this system works. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, but yeah, there will. So yeah, it goes back to what I've actually completely lost my train of thought now. I've had.
I'm so sorry. It's just I needed to interrupt you because I needed to make sure I understood what you said.
Yeah, it is something that's very good, and it's not. I think this is something where I think the people who are bitter about Trump winning the election in 2016 over the last 4 years, I've not of all the things. Like, I remember a time when it was the American left who were screaming out for electoral reform over and over again, and in many. And
the American right
ways.
Would not yield because they won, and it was just like, no, fuck this shit. You need.
Or even when they didn't win, even when Clinton was president,
we still need reform.
the right just, but it not necessarily the politicians, but it was on the ground, on the grassroots level. It was the left that wanted that, and as soon as 2016 came along, out the freaking window.
Well,
and I think that they by focusing on getting rid of the Electoral College, it's a complete misstep, because it completely misses where the actual problems are. Like, for example, we've been talking about this since the election. Is that every state has different rules, and not just different rules, but different rules in their how they handle questions to the rules, how they would handle all sorts of decision making. It is,
and I've given some thought to that since we've talked about that one. And I actually, since we've only talked about that off stream, I want to touch just a little bit on that one, and that is, this has become a regular talking point over this election cycle because of how absolutely, and look, honestly, whether you're right or left wing and you're watching this, can we all at least agree on one thing? This election has been an absolute chaotic shit show. Because it has. Let's be honest. It fucking has. This election has been a total travesty across the fucking board. Left, whether you're for Biden, whether you're for Trump, it's been a fucking nightmare. That's why I just clicked, turned off, and just didn't pay attention to any of it for a week. Because it was just ridiculous. Anyway. When I said earlier that we need some election reform, there were a couple things that occurred to me when you were saying there. The first of them is, we do have an issue with how we go about handling the counting process and all that for ballots in different states. As I've said many times on the show before, I am a strict federalist. I have a very, very difficult time budging on the issue of federal intervention on how states handled their elections.
I felt like I'd start hissing there and practicing. Remember, just for the audience, we're planning to do an ongoing series in the not too distant future about the Federalist Papers.
Yes, we will be going through the Federalist one by one.
Now, I'm very impressed by those papers. However, because this dude is an absolute extremist, I'm going to have to play the part of devil's advocate. So if I start hissing at him at the mention of the Federal Papers, it's just that I'm just practicing to get into character so that we can.
But before we get to that, hold on, put a pin in that. When near the end of the stream, we're gonna discuss a couple of things that we're going to be creating separate shows for, along with our. And we've actually come up with an idea here that the title of this show is possibly a good one: the Supreme Court of Public Opinion. So we might start to compartmentalize things a little bit more, but we'll deal with that at the end of the show. Anyway, as I was saying, with the whole issue with the state elections and federalism, under a strict federalist interpretation, each of the states has the right to determine how they go about deciding the appropriation of their electors. And this is the thing. I talked about this in our last stream pre-election. I'm going to bring it up again. When it comes to how the states decide when it comes to the presidential elections, the people of the United States, the individual citizens of the United States, do not select the president. We don't do that. It has never been intended for we the people to elect the president. Let me get that clear now. It has always been intended for a combination of the states and the people, specifically the states. The reason why the combination plays into it is because it is up to the individual states to determine how they select their electors for the presidency. In simple terms, the states select the president, not the people. It's one of many reasons why the idea of a popular vote only is a stupid fucking idea. The way that the states, effectively by compact, the way that all 50 states go about selecting their electors the exception being Nebraska and Maine, so basically 48 states, is through popular vote. And the way that happens is if say, for example, you live in the state of Ohio, 51% of the counties in Ohio confirm election results for one candidate. The state of Ohio instructs its selected electors to all vote for that candidate. I believe that as far as reform goes for this issue, the appropriate thing to do is to get rid of, but you can't do this at the federal level. This has to be done at the state levels, to get rid of the winner-takes-all system. The winner-takes-all system is what has given people this malicious idea that the Electoral College is worthless. It's a waste of time. We should have a popular vote. We only think that because the winner-takes-all system is in place in 48 states.
Well, this is something we could debate.
Well, let me give you an example.
I would advise caution on that.
Well, if you get rid of, if you go within there are problems with both. I will absolutely acknowledge and agree there are problems with a proportional system. The problem is, the thing is the proportional system, I think, better delegates the whims of the individual sectors of the people, and it provides freedom for the electors to operate based on the whims of where they of the proportions in which they are selected upon. Each state has a different way of selecting its electors. If, as I said before, if for example Ohio bases it on a majority of counties in Ohio vote for a candidate, and therefore all of the electors for the state of Ohio have to go to that candidate. You could also have, on the reverse, somewhere like Massachusetts, which might have it where the Massachusetts State Assembly could just decide to pass a law that says only the members of the Massachusetts State Assembly can select the electors for the state of Massachusetts. That would mean there isn't a popular vote. Now, some people might scream, well, what about the 14th Amendment? Well, the 14th Amendment applies to this in the sense that if whatever the state's means of selecting its electors is, it has to be I'm trying to remember the language of the 14th. It has to basically apply equally across the board. In other words, if the state of Massachusetts, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, my bad, it's not the state, it's Commonwealth, decides to say the electors for Massachusetts can only be selected by the Assembly, then all of the electors of the state of Massachusetts must be selected by the Assembly. They can't say that all except one is selected by the Assembly and the last one is up to the popular vote. That is an unequal application of the law. That's where the 14th Amendment plays into it. It has to be an equal application of the law. California, with its 55. California could do the same, where the state assembly in Sacramento decides to proportion California's electors. Or it could leave it as it currently stands, up to a popular vote within the state of California for its electors. But most states, 48 states, well, actually all 50 states have a popular vote canvassing process. Then they apportion their electors based upon all 48 of those states. It's a majority of the counties and districts reporting in. That's the majority. Nebraska and Maine, truth be told, their electoral processes can give me a headache because they both do shit weird. Rant over. Did you mute yourself again? I'm going to assume...
Of course not. Why would I do that?
Okay. I was going to say, the one last thing I was going to say was, that's the first thing that I believe is important to electoral reform. I'm a big fan of electoral reform. I just don't believe that we should... Electoral reform should not include things like national popular vote, getting into the Electoral College, stupid shit like that. There are ways of examining electoral reform that don't... I think that the problem with electoral reform is... You have to be very careful. We can't just step on the toes of the sovereignty of the member states of this union. That's really, really important.
That's the most important thing, because what I'm seeing, going back to the tweet again, actually, which is fake, is this is a sentiment that has been said many times. As I've said before, you can't base like your full judgment on this person based on what's in a single tweet or even a series of them that I've seen. But this is a sentiment. I did pick it because this is a widely held sentiment and it contains several things. And one of those is this reference to the 3 million. And it is a knee-jerk reaction. And that is the worst thing. I mean, that's kind of how you end up with what we, to put it loosely, the far left and the far right. That's how you end up with these extremes. It's, the SJWs with the far left, they're basically taking a knee-jerk reaction to, and I know there's a whole sort of ideology that's built up over decades behind that, but back in, say, 2013, 14, when this really ramped up, it did so because people are just thinking in terms of a knee-jerk reaction, which is, oh, someone said there's sexism. Quick, get rid of it. Get rid of it. Oh, racism. Oh, get rid of it. Get rid of it. There's no, okay, well, is it actually that? How does this balance up with various things? And I think it's the same with their approach to the election. It is the same with many things. And that is, even in this tweet, they say, oh, I don't understand why they can't just suck it up. It is the knee-jerk reaction. It's coming from an emotional place, and it's, oh, suck it up. Like they're reacting to what they may have been told or what they believe they, that in the quotations, the suck it up, that's the words this person is attributing to other people, but it may just be their summary. There could be lots of things said. And that's another thing I've noticed quite a lot in the last 4 years, and even beyond. It's something I've noticed all my life, but it's been running very hot around this subject, is if someone would, this person may have encountered someone who said, oh, but Donald Trump lost, was 3 million votes behind. I'd say, yes, that's true, but that's not how the system works. You need to take that into consideration. And this person might then respond to me and go, oh, you're just telling me to suck it up, which is, once again, it's a knee-jerk reaction. There's no real thinking through what's being discussed. And, just to spruik ourselves again, part of the reason we want to start doing, looking into things like the Federalist Papers and why we're going to start doing live streams talking about various texts that have been significant, is we want to actually go into these issues and consider them and be more aware of them. And who knows, maybe we'll solve all the answers to all the problems in the universe.
Yeah, good luck with
I doubt it. Yeah, I doubt it. But if anything, the
only man who had the answers, the only man who had the answers to human problems with government was Robert Heinlein. But don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I thought it was
Isran, the only person who had the answers to the question.
Kaczynski.
Okay.
That's a joke, by the way.
I know. Yes, Susan.
Susan,
that was a joke.
Yes,
Susan, that was a joke.
Well, actually, you could unpack that statement and go, well, he did claim to have all the answers. I'm not saying they were right. I'm just saying, he...
Well, yeah, we were talking about the answers. We weren't talking about whether they were the right answers.
Yeah. But in terms
plausible deniability.
In terms of moving forward to those streams, what we're going to plan to do is...
Yeah, this is actually a good time to hit our conclusion, huh?
What is most important is basically having an appreciation for it. Now, I don't want to be like this person. Like, these people all crying foul about... at the point of these tweets, it was believed... These people believed wholeheartedly that Biden had won the election. Look at how they've been behaving. Are they good winners? Are they looking forwards? No, they are looking back and they're hating people. They are acting.
They're doing a lot of good for the whole time to knit the wounds and unify type rhetoric, aren't they?
Yeah, they're.
And this is actually a great point for me to say something, because it's something that I've been, you and I briefly talked about it before we went live, but I'm just going to bring it up now, and that is that, look, here's the deal. And this goes kind of into the name of the stream. Or not the name of the stream, but the thumbnail we had set up. Honestly, I do think, at this point, that barring something monumentally world-shaking, Biden's won this. It's... some people might go, "Oh, you're just a doomer. You're giving up." Like, no, I'm not giving up anything. It's just I'm not going to sit here and resist a candidate who won an election if they actually won the fucking election. I'm not going to play by the game that the sort of person in this tweet likely did. Well, not even likely, but possibly did back in 2016. If Trump lost, Trump lost. The next 4 years, are they going to be great? Probably not. Are they going to be all? Are they going to be the end of the world? No. I'm willing to accept a loss with a stiff upper lip. That's the important thing. The kind of stuff that's going around, the hold the line, hashtag hold the line thing, smells to me similar to hashtag resist.
Well, hang on a sec.
A little bit of it feels like that.
Wait. Oh, I got something to say there. There are people using that I think are going a bit full on. I think there are other people. It depends what they're saying. But this is another point.
It's going to depend.
Wait, stop. Yeah, calm down. I'm going to do. This is another difference I see here, which is stemming out of this, which is, okay, I can go around, I can look at people who have been saying, hold the line, using the hashtag, whatever, using those phrases. I can go through all of those people and I can see that everyone is applying it differently. They're thinking about it differently. They have a different concept of what that actually means. And the other thing is, and actually this person, as I said before, they start with, I don't understand. Yeah, you don't understand because you've been walking around with your freaking head up your ass. You've been walking around refusing to listen. And I've already mentioned several, sort of kind of semi-hypothetical examples. I say they're semi-hypothetical because I'm attributing this person, and I'm being honest about that in saying that. But there are plenty of times where I have time and time again come across this. And if I'm going to bring up politics, I know I have to be careful. I know that I have to be careful what words I use, how I broach a subject, and it's not just to do with Donald Trump or Republicans or anything, it's across the globe. But I just see it time and time again. You bring up politics and someone's going to start quoting some misconception that's been pushed by some kind of media outlet. It could be to do with Trump. It could be to do with the US, or it could be about Brexit. It could be about, Brexit's just a bunch of low information votes. Well, I got news for you. There's no such thing as someone who isn't low information when you consider what that phrase has been used as.
Yep.
There's a paradox around expertise. The more expert you become, the more you have to focus on a certain area. Therefore, you cannot be, you're not omniscient. You can't.
Yeah, no man is omniscient, and if no man is omniscient, then society is not omniscient. You can't expect people to know every possible nuance about something. It's actually kind of goes into why I hate it when I hear, and I hear this from the left, I hear this from the right. As much as I love Razor Fist, I heard him say it on one of his game streams a few days ago, and it pissed me off, is the people voting against their best interests. It's like, who are you to decide what is somebody's best interest except for themselves? And whether they're informed properly or misinformed or whatever it is, it's their decision. Whatever position brings somebody to their decision is theirs and theirs only. To insinuate or place superiority or judgment over that, I think, is insulting, first and foremost. Yeah. And to act against it is tyrannical. I just want to say one last thing with the whole electoral stuff. It's just like, look, is the election over? No, it's not technically. It's not over. Not technically, not literally, any of that sort of stuff. I'm just saying that this is okay. What I was going to say is what's really going to tell the difference between whether or not the right is able to conduct itself better than the left is all going to come down to who is sworn in at noon Eastern Time on January 20th. If it's Joe Biden and the right is still running with the hashtag hold the line, they're in the wrong.
Yeah, well, this is where actually going back to what I was saying before. One of the things I had in mind is the hold the line refers to different things, and I think that there's resist versus hold the line they're different words and they have different connotations. And resist is going back. It was pretty much the It's going back. It's from the a trope from Star Wars. It's the resistance. It's which is pretty messed up to me because that comes from the Disney Star Wars.
I know, but the whole resistance thing actually started before those absolutely god-awful movies started coming out.
Yes, no, it didn't, because they came out before he was elected.
I thought 2017 was when the first one came out.
No, 2015.
Oh, Christ on a cracker.
Yeah, how much time has passed, eh?
Yeah, I know.
It's a long time in hell.
I know.
Yeah, so it's part of that. That was, oh God, and there was a whole Twitter group of people, in response to the Kekistan meme, just turning up and going, with their Star Wars themed bloody.
Anyway. Yeah. My whole point is
so
for anybody who's.
Hang on a sec. Go back a bit. With the hold the line is, do you notice how that could refer to anything? And it's also resist seems to verge off into violent resistance.
I got something that's going to piss off some people, but it's going to be great. Give me a second here. Sorry for anyone who hears my keyboard. Fill the dead space. I'm trying to find something.
Oh dear.
Anyone who gets this is going to really enjoy it when I find it. Just keep rambling on like a lunatic. It'll be funny. I promise.
Oh, like a lunatic?
Yeah. Go on like a lunatic. It'll be fun.
I would say I don't know how to do that, but I'm sure I'll be self-own.
Yeah,
you want to down pretty badly.
Yeah, you want to be careful with that one, now, don't you?
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to move on after this one to the piece de resistance.
Yeah, and I don't want to touch on it too long. We've already been going for an hour and 40. We'll try to keep to it. God damn it! All right, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to throw this on the desktop and just run with it from there. Okay.
Just drop it in the browser.
Oh, nope. Got a better idea.
Is it an image?
Yep. Got a better idea in place.
Yeah.
Image. So when people say hold the line, the very first thing that comes to my mind is the correct answer to hold the line.
Is this something to do with Toto?
What?
The song. Because that's what keeps coming to my mind.
God, no. No. Captain Kirrahe needs you. Hold the line from Mass Effect.
Okay.
If you're familiar with the clip, you'll get what's funny. So, funny.
Another interpretation could be hold the line. Yes, your complaint about the current state of US politics has been noted. We'll have an operator get to you as soon as possible. Please hold the line.
Yep. All right.
And
so
five years later, we're still on hold.
Now, if I recall correctly, the pièce de résistance is the Queen idiot of Queens, right?
Yep.
Here you are, ladies and gentlemen. The idiot in chief of the United States Congress. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Or as some like to refer to her, or as some like refer to her, Alexandria Occasional Cortex. I'm fond of that one.
Occasional Cortex, yeah.
And if you're before your standard boilerplate goes out. It's like, well, yeah, don't harass her, but she is a public official. If you have something you want to say,
Yes.
you can call her office. You can send them an email. I wouldn't.
You
Do
have
not
a
harass.
right, yes.
You have the right. Do not harass. Do not threat. Do not make threats. Don't be an asshole. But feel free to be cheeky.
If you have to say I disagree, you have to say it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's face it. With some people, with her, actually, she's one of the people who's done
Political
this.
action.
She's the kind of person who said that disagreeing is harassment. She did do that. I'm serious.
I know she did, and that's why I'm just sitting there going, all right, lady, you decided to get elected to public office, and you think disagreement is harassment. All right, lads, crack your knuckles. She's asked for it.
Yeah. So I'm going to read this out.
Lads and lasses, let's be fair here. Not everybody
Yep.
who hates her or dislikes her or disagrees with her is a man.
Yeah. So I'm going to read this out. Is anyone archiving these Trump sycophants for when they try to downplay or deny their complicity in the future?
God.
I foresee decent probability of many deleted tweets, writings, photos in the future. Now,
You know, I wanna
by
put that as
itself-
I want to put the background music up, but it will immediately get us kicked off YouTube. So instead, I'll just deliver a few lines. No, I'm not going to do injustice to such a good song. Never. Okay, before anyone thinks I'm going down a fucking rabbit hole, often people like to put up as the background music the song Erika, which is a marching song from the German military from the 1930s. It's a song about a girl back home and flowers. But it's kind of become because of Hollywood in the 50s and looking for German archival music to use. Yeah. If you really, really want to have some fun with it, you get the German national anthem playing. Don't do that. You'll get banned from YouTube.
yeah, I think it's probably more Russian, really.
Oh, now that I can get away with, and Susan won't eat us. Give me one moment.
No,
Go on.
hang on a sec. Yeah, I think. Yeah, let's. I think all I really want to say now is that this is. Yeah, we were going to talk about a few other things, but this is kind of the
fucked.
pinnacle of the.
Yeah.
I don't think she explicitly says.
No,
mentions
she's careful.
having a purge.
She's careful. Her handlers and...
Well, hang on. Not necessarily. I will give her the benefit of the doubt, although not for long. I would like to point out...
Yeah, don't give her too much
I don't
rope.
know. Maybe... There's always a bit of mystery. I think that she's fired out. And keep in mind, like, at the time, what really struck me is that this is another very stereotypical thing. It's like, you know, they've been complaining about being harassed. They've been complaining about bad treatment towards them. And they've been complaining about people having a problem with them. And what's the response?
No honor.
It's
none.
It's basically to do what they said you shouldn't do. That's what they've been saying for all this time. And she's already done this. We've seen a whole bunch of problems anyway, but it's,
like I said,
she doesn't explicitly say it's a purge. Having said that, we do know since that she's started up some organization, which I can't remember the name of it, or some initiative. And it's basically about, it sounds like she's talking about re-education camps for Trump supporters, or
I'll say this.
And
if anything comes out of this election cycle, because I know there's still a few of them that are up in the air, if the Republicans retake the House, which I still don't think is going to happen, but if they do, first of all, Dan Crenshaw for Speaker of the House. Actually, no, not Dan Crenshaw. He wants to send us back in Afghanistan. Fuck that shit. But one of the very first things the Republicans need to do is they need to officially issue orders of censure. Not censor, Susan and lefties. Censure of behavior like this.
you don't have to apologize you don't have to clarify it for them. You have to clarify everyone else.
Oh, yeah. Censure is basically an official reprimand from within the
I
House
know
and
what
Senate.
it
Yeah.
is.
Most people
it's a
don't
group
know.
reprimand courtesy of the Senate.
And
it
it can have consequences in terms of weight on committees and such that people are part of. Part of a censure can involve removal from committees.
Yes. You might remember Fraser Anning here, who was a guy who shot his mouth off about the. He's a senator who shot his mouth off about the New Zealand mosque shooting. Oh, actually, that's a bit harsh, but he did say something a bit untimely, and he was censured by the Australian Senate, Federal Senate.
What was his name?
And then Fraser Anning. That's the guy who got an egg on the back of the head by some young guy who was protesting against him.
Unacceptable behavior from a protester, but throwing things at people is unacceptable in my opinion.
He didn't so much throw it as drop it, and I'm going to give him some points for the fact that he did conduct himself in a very careful way that I don't think you can call it violent. It may be very disrespectful, but it was not. I sort of commend him for not being a spurg out, not acting in a completely irrational way in recklessness. He was doing it very carefully, and I think there's actually if we could do a whole freaking stream on this on what I actually think about it. It's a bit.
All right. I mean, I don't know too much about the situation. Yeah. I'm just saying, my general philosophy is you don't throw things at people, or drop things or whatever it is.
Yeah, I would personally say if you're in America, I wouldn't do that because you might get shot on the spot. But this is Australia too, by the way. So
still, I don't care where you are in the world. I just don't think you should throw things at people you disagree with. That's my belief.
I don't think it was a case of disagreeing. That's another thing I could go into.
Now, I'll say this. This is let's go, just to give an example, this goes back to a comment that Ben Shapiro had made that the left went like nuts about last year during the Democrat primary when Robert O'Rourke was talking about gun confiscations, and Ben Shapiro says, I'll meet you at my front door with a shotgun. And people took that to imply, oh, Ben Shapiro's threatening to kill Robert O'Rourke. It's like, no, he's not. He's just telling very clearly, if you try to come door to door to my house, or you send people to try to come door to door to my house to deprive me of my basic rights, I'm going to fight you. And it wasn't about guns. No, maybe it wasn't Robert. It was about the whole. It was still Robert O'Rourke though, talking about education and children and religion and such and so forth. And anyone who knows Ben Shapiro knows he's an Orthodox Jew, and he's very strict about his religious beliefs and how he brings his children up. So, but that's the only time I consider political violence to be at all acceptable is defensive, not offensive.
Yeah, but it's not. This is it. My point here is that that's not political violence, in my opinion. And if people don't agree,
yeah, we could do a whole stream on that because,
it's a very. I say commend him because he didn't. This is something I actually felt was actually bothersome. As a lot of people I follow and like were very fired up over that, and I saw a lot of people being getting a bit too emotional. So if we want to hold our own side to account, I think that's something. Don't become the spurg out. And also, the other thing is that in the law of this land, that would not necessarily be considered violence. That's a very key point. That's what I'm saying.
Now, see, that's the thing. I mean, that's where we really get into. Like I said, we can do a whole stream on debating that because it really comes down. I think it ultimately boils down to what one defines to be violence in these regards.
Yeah. No. Well, it's
I just don't. I don't like the idea of people chucking things at other people.
Yeah. I see this in. This is a thing where I say, okay, that's not something to make a habit of. It should, if you want to commend it, you should acknowledge the fact that it's a bad thing.
Yeah,
like it's not. It is a protest.
All right. I'm going to rein it in because we're going off on a tangent on this one. Let's rein things back to AOC.
Yep. Hang on. I've got to explain. This guy was censored, and he then got up and did a speech where he complained about being censored and not allowed to speak. Did you catch the problem with that?
Yeah, he doesn't understand the difference between a censure and being censored.
So even being able to give a speech is, that's
part of the punishment when you are in an elected body of being censured. No.
There's no punishment. There's no punishment.
Oh, bloody hell! That's the problem then.
There's no punishment. It's practically a giant virtue signal, but it's a way for the Senate to address something for the purposes of saying that they're addressing it, where no law can be applied, no punishment can be applied, and they are able to express their intent and disapproval. But he doesn't understand that because he was part of a sort of... let's just say he's a bit attached to the what I might loosely refer to as the Australian alt-right. And he was being a snowflake about it. So, yeah. But yeah, go back to AOC. She is...
because the Democrat House will not censure her for these comments. And these comments are beyond the pale, in my opinion.
I wouldn't be surprised if a few Republicans won't.
Oh, no. I do think that there were Republicans that would be perfectly fine with these sorts of comments, and that's disgusting. It is utterly inappropriate for an elected official in the federal government of the United States to be suggesting, and then later, I'm not sure, I haven't been familiar with this one, as you said, partaking in or assisting in creating an organization that is conducting exactly what the comments are. And the comments in this case are specifically it is easy to draw from an implicit presumption that the goal is to put political opposition on a list that can be used against them. It is exactly the same sort of problems we've had in the past in this country that were equally inappropriate then, and they are now. And this, by the way, just as our kind of like this is what I was talking about earlier, where we will see come January 20th, we will see whether or not the left, and honestly I'm not hedging my bets on this one, will handle victory with honor and magnanimity, and the right will handle loss or victory. Sorry, let me backtrack. I don't want to try to imply I think this is entirely one-dimensionally decided. Come January 20th, if Biden is the one being sworn in, we're going to see whether the left can act with honor or the right can accept defeat with honor. If Trump wins, we're going to see whether the left can accept defeat with honor or the right can accept victory with honor. I'll be honest with you. If Biden is the one who's being sworn in, I don't think there's going to be much in the way of behavior with honor from both sides, and that really pisses me off.
I think you're very much underappreciating
you're right.
Massive complication here, which is this is something where we need to, like, looking at these tweets, especially now, it's in my mind, but it has been for a long time, which is the biggest problem seems to be people who shoehorn in this sense of tribalism where it doesn't belong or where it's inadequate. And the fact of the matter is that, like, I'm looking at the people who are happy to see Trump go. I see different groupings, and one of them, we mentioned it earlier, is some people who just they just don't want Trump there. And I think although their thinking and the way they talk may have been skewed by that, I suspect a lot of those people go the other way. But then some of those will not. And I think what's really the test is, can people adapt to the new situation should Biden win? And I think that there's going to be shitheads on both sides. And what's going to be defining them is where do they sit? And you keep in mind, a lot of the shitheads on the Democrat side are going to be backing the shithead we currently have on the screen. And I'm not referring to you or I or our...
Ben, if they were backing me, it's like, all right, 2022, let's go, baby. I'm ready for Congress.
Yeah, so it's It
Audrey, Denny, eat your heart out.
Yeah, it is going to be. They're going to be up front. Whereas,
fuck, I partially doxed myself.
I bet I get. Oh, got it. Yeah, okay. Dead rat on your.
Well, to be fair, my congressional district is, in terms of land area, absolutely fucking massive. So
good. I can track you down now.
You already know where I live. Shut up.
Okay, I'm on Amazon. I'm buying a
anyway
shoebox.
anyway, let's stay on point here. Sorry about that. But no, you are right though. They're they're going to be backing this shithead right here. This
but no, the real point.
This absolute scum
the real point is there will be other people.
Mark's licking dipshit.
Yeah, the real point I was getting at is that'll be on hers on one side, and even then it will be a subset of that side. Whereas in the right, I bet we will get a lot of the same. It'll just be tweaked differently, and you're still going to get, if you get one random mass
her
shooter.
Tweet style's not going to stop. And that's going to be
if we get one mass. If we get one mass shooter, who maybe it's someone who's, doing it for some reason, it ends up having nothing to do with politics whatsoever, you're still going to hear those questions, that's the worst of the right or something. Or if the guy had been seen at a MAGA rally somewhere, it'll be the same. We're going to get a lot of this same pattern. And I think that really the only division I'm seeing is that the one defining difference that's actually going to stand out, where I can derive any sort of conclusion when sort of generalizing to both sides, is the people who have been pro-Trump have been forced to think more. They've been forced to wrap their heads around the fact that they're supporting a giant orange dick. About how do they justify that?
Well, not even how they justify it. It's like, what does the giant orange dick mean?
Yes, that too. It is. How do you resolve?
And that's kind of what brought me around.
The other side, but the other side can't do that. In fact, to share a quick little story. I've been thinking about this for ages, but I think it was last weekend. I happened to take my dog for a walk, went through a park. It was a weekend. There were some people having a picnic, and I happened to go past an area where three of the people from this picnic were at one of those, public barbecues. And I just happened to be going past in a way that I overheard a bit of conversation. Two of these guys started talking about Trump being, and they were talking like boys in a really shitty schoolyard, being, speaking in terms, basically name calling, disrespect, calling him a dickhead, blah, blah. And you could tell by the way they were talking, there was no foresight. It was just, they were just talking off the top of their head. They didn't feel, they were talking in a way where they would definitely not be challenged at all. That's what they believed. But then this other guy, the third guy, sort of started speaking, and immediately I noticed he was putting a lot of thought into his words, and he effectively said, I'm practically quoting, he said, look, you might not like Trump, and he's pretty bad, so yeah, good. But don't lose sight of the fact that the other side, there's some pretty bad elements over there. Now, I thought of that, and then the guys actually had to engage with that and go, oh yeah, Biden's teamed up with fucking commies and socialists. Uh-oh. So what I noticed is that was like a watershed moment where I saw this very simple example of something I've been noticing, which is a lot of the people there's a lot of people who are getting smarter. They're thinking more. You have to think about what you're saying. You have to think about why you're saying it. You have to be on your toes. Whereas a lot of the people who support AOC and a lot of people who I end up arguing with on Twitter and many other places is they don't think. And that doesn't end with politics. If you're not thinking, it goes into your personal life. It goes into how you're going to approach your job, your relationships, to take something from Aristotle. I think these people are incontinent with personal integrity. They cannot maintain it. They cannot intellectually or in terms of honor that you mentioned. They will fuck themselves up before they'll.
Yes, and I'm afraid what I'm afraid of is I have more confidence in the right on this one. I still fear a loud enough subsect to disrupt it in that regard.
This is where I think the term "hold the line" is actually not so bad.
It's not so bad. It's not so bad. It's just
stand your ground, maintain your position, draw your own boundaries, and it's a case of personal assertiveness.
How it morphs as January 20th approaches. That's what matters to me. For me,
I'm not putting any deadlines on
it. Well, I'm just saying, I'm not putting a deadline. I'm just saying how it morphs. Because if it starts to look more and more like it's a sense of denial if things go sour, I'm going to not hold my breath in the long run. But if a sense of honor and a sense of respectability and self-reflection develops from it, or begins to show some seedlings, I'll be much, much more inclined towards it. Like I said, some people might take me as being a bit doomer on some of this. I'm not. It's just, I wouldn't say I'm being a realist. I would say I'm trying to be more pragmatic about some of this. And that is, I want Trump to win this. I want him to win a lot. I want him to win badly. But it's very possible
you just don't
won't.
Want to eat avocados. We know what's going on here.
Okay, yeah, there's that too. I don't want to fucking eat 3 avocados. Damn it! But, I made the bet. I'm a man of my word. I will keep it. But still, the point, my underlying point is, I wanted Trump to win this badly. I voted for him. I didn't vote for him in 2016. And by the way, something you'd said earlier was part of the reason why I started to slowly come around to him, is because as much as I didn't like him in 2016, I even said to a friend at the time something along the lines of, I don't like him, and I don't like the Republicans. But if he wins, we'll see how this goes. And how the last 4 years have gone policy-wise, I've had some complaints here and there, but for the most part, it hasn't been completely. It was nothing like as bad as I thought it could possibly have been. And enough so that I actually, especially in the last 2 years, the man started talking about some things that I actually really, really liked what he had to say. So that's kind of what it was. What you're saying, made me. A lot of Trump supporters were kind of forced to think, or have been forced to think, why do I support this giant orange dick? And I'm one of them in the sense that I wasn't a supporter of said giant orange dick, but the more and more I started to think and pay attention, I had to start and think: is he wrong?
Well, part of that thinking, actually, that I think is very important is we've had to admit we're wrong, a lot of us. And something you just said reminded me of it, is I've had to admit that I was wrong about Trump on certain things.
Oh God, and there's things I've had to work. I was absolutely.
You just mentioned that, like, in the last couple of years, he started talking about a few things. I've had to admit that some of the things he's been talking about for a long time, and I had no idea about that.
I'll give you one example. When he initially rolled out with his trade war rhetoric stuff with China, oh man, I was vehemently opposed to the trade war rhetoric. I was vehemently opposed to the concept of him just arbitrarily dropping tariffs. I still am, by the way, opposed to arbitrarily dropping tariffs on things. But his rationality for the situation with trade with China. And that's one other thing. I don't buy the whole trade deficit thing. Trade deficits are not in and of themselves a negative, but that's an economics discussion another time. The point is, I disagreed with him on specific words, specific terms, specific rhetoric. But the core idea of what he was really digging at was that China has been abusing and using and taking advantage of us to increase their own imperialistic ambitions is correct. And I agree with it, that China has to be stopped. or stopped isn't the right word. They have to be halted. Stopping China would be going to war.
Actually, I disagree with that. I disagree. I think this is where the phrase "hold the line" can be applied.
Correct.
In a way.
Hold the line against China, for example.
Your nation should have a right to hold its line.
Correct.
It's an act of assertiveness. And I think Australia is the same. I think the UK is. I mean,
each sovereign nation has the right to hold the line to preserve its sovereignty. Yes.
Yeah. And that's a big issue. I think that he has respected that a lot more than I thought. And I mean, one of the other things going back even further back is back in 2016, I was just going like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about with a wall, man? What you like? No, you sound like a fucking Nazi or something.
Well,
you sound like some kind of
statement.
totalitarian. You sound like some kind of extremist. And then one day I just happened to be walking along and I thought, hang on, hold on a second. Didn't Bill Clinton build a fence all along the border?
He did
indeed. Didn't that? Hang on, and I had to stop. And there's several things to say. One was actually go back and review, but the other thing was I've had to admit that my memory's not that perfect that I remember everything that's happened.
Fuck, you remember that shit more than I do. I was a kid in that period.
Yeah, but keep in mind, I'm
you're an old bastard.
Jump on you. Yeah.
Boomer.
No.
Oh, fuck, I'm technically a millennial.
Tuna.
God damn it.
Yeah. I have to admit memory, and I've been doing that the whole time. And I think arguing with them that I've had difficulties with, even when I'm not arguing with them, seem to have memory hole problems everywhere. They don't remember things. And there's people now who don't remember that they've just spent 4 years banging on about Russian interference, and they're quite happy to say there's no such thing as widespread voter fraud.
Yep. And I'll give you another example. Just using the border wall the border fence wall, whatever you want to fucking call it, as an example of Trump. One thing the man said, and I remember a good friend of mine, regularly we had arguments about this one. I think he slowly started to come around to my way of thinking on it. Not a way of thinking, but came to realize that I wasn't entirely wrong on this one. When Trump was going around screaming, Mexico's going to pay for him, sitting there going, no, they fucking aren't. They're not going to pay for it. Now, one could argue, well, maybe they'll pay for it in a trade arrangement or something like that. Okay, sure, but the implication is Mexico's going to pay for it. The way that Trump worded that and ran with it was a whole, we're going to make Mexico front foot the bill. And it's like, no, you're not. You're not going to make Mexico foot the bill. And then,
let me guess. Mexico's footing the bill now.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Some people will argue and spin it to be that the trade arrangement, the restructuring and renegotiation of NAFTA, I don't remember what USMCA, I think is what it's called, makes Mexico pay for it. Air quotes. The problem is, not really. That's not the way that it was sold to people. If you want to think that that's the result you get, that's just spin doctoring, and I'm not going to play that game.
No, I disagree. I think he was
blowing smoke up the ass with that one. But
no, he wasn't entirely. I think what he was I think that he was aware of, I think he was talking about the trade thing, but he was
I think that's handling. I think that's 4D underwater hungry.
No. Well, firstly, what's wrong with 4D chess? It's not always untrue.
Well, it's not always untrue, but the hungry hippos up underwater upside down part is.
Not sure I get that.
It's a joke coming from Ben Shapiro, but still.
Yeah. No, but I think that actually, to tell you the truth, I find it actually a bit irritating when people disregard the whole concept of 4D chess. Because,
I do too. I don't disregard it. Yeah, I just think people give a tribute.
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
more
let me
to
tell
Trump
you why,
than they
though.
should.
Let me tell you why. When they say it in regards to Trump, or like it's some kind of mysterious thing that can't be proven or whatever, every fucking politician is playing it. by definition, they will be doing it. And I mean, there's some of the things going on with Trump, this is one of the other weird things about Trump. He does something that politicians do all the time, and people complain. Like,
you're right there.
It is what they do. They are playing.
No, you're right.
Chess.
The only area that I'm a little hesitant about is I do think that there are some politicians, and I'm not just talking about the nobody backbencher types. There are some politicians that are too goddamn stupid to play 4D chess.
No, they're too stupid to win. They're not, but they're still doing it.
Well, that's what I mean. It's the fact they're able to. Okay, in the case of like chess, it's the difference between knowing how the pieces move and knowing how to play chess.
Yeah,
there are some politicians. Examples to come to mind. AOC,
but either way, you're playing chess.
Maxine Waters is a perfect example. Knows how the pieces move. She has no fucking idea how to play chess.
Yes, no. But she's still playing chess.
Yeah, I guess
the analogy sort of breaks down.
I get you. Anyway,
so I might not know how to swing a tennis racket, but if I go out onto a tennis court, I'm technically playing a game of tennis. So, but that's the thing I find one of those weird. It's like the low information voter comment. I find it very I argue with it from the opposite angle, which is that it's, as I said earlier, everyone's a low information voter. In fact, that's actually why we should have a proper representative democracy, whether we're constitutionally defined as that or whether we just have democracy in pursuit of whatever constitutional system you have. That is, it's an argument for it. And I think to go back to that comment about build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it is, I think that that's something where he's allowed to say that in an election campaign. And I'm not talking about making a false promise. That, I think, from what I heard back, well, more so after he actually got elected, which is that part of his plan was firstly the trade deal, but there were also initiatives in place that Mexico's actually going to pay for it. Now, they're not going to pay for the whole thing. Now, this is where Trump's little wording game comes in. But they did actually directly pay for it. They have been involved in the construction of it through other means. And I remember, I think it was about 2 years ago when there was a lot going on with all those, stories of people coming over the border, and we saw all those photos and all sorts. Mexico actually did start paying for it because they were having troubles. That's right, the caravan. If you remember that period, Mexico started help pitching in.
Okay, no, you're right there.
Either with the security or the building up, they were, and that was one of the big lies of 2016. I remember there was a story going on around everywhere about how, I think it was after Trump had got the nomination, but a lot of people were saying there were a lot of these articles going about how, someone fairly high up in some sort of ministerial cabinet or something in Mexico invited Trump to Mexico, and Trump went, met with him, talked with him, and this story broke about how this guy got ostracized from his party, blah, 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 blah. No, he didn't. That's bullshit.
No, I remember that.
Yep, and what do we know now? Is this the same president or prime minister of Mexico now that was present in 2016? I'm pretty sure it is. But what's the president of Mexico done? Has not acknowledged the election result.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I haven't paid attention to anything going on.
If Mexico's so anti-Trump, surely they just go, woohoo, Biden's president. Wouldn't they jump in on that? They haven't. And it's more of a part of a lie in like type of narrative. This childlike level of complicity in the system. In fact, as I just said, complicity. I looked at that tweet and it says,
shit, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. The
deny their complicity in the future, says AOC.
Looking at a letter, an article. I don't know if there's anything new that's happened since from November 11th on Reuters, We are not a colony. Mexican president stands firm on not recognizing Biden win.
Yeah, that's true.
And Lopez Obrador is listed in Reuters as, quote, left-leaning, end quote.
Yeah. And I also, another thing I heard...
Though they say in the last thing here, and this is just your standard media line, left-leaning Lopez Obrador is part of a shrinking group of world leaders yet to congratulate Biden, along with... And see, here's where you can smell the stink. Along with Brazil's right-wing president, Jair Bolsonaro, Russia's Vladimir Putin, and China's Xi Jinping. Fuck it, no, I'm not gonna say his name right. Winnie the Pooh.
Well, actually,
that's not fair because I like Winnie the Pooh.
Putin. Firstly, I don't think Putin's gonna. Putin probably hasn't just said jack shit about it, because every time I hear about what Putin supposedly thinks, it turns out he hasn't said anything. In fact, one of the things after the election, a couple of days after, was the foreign minister of Russia flat out said what we wanted was a landslide from Biden.
Oh my God, this is gorgeous. From the Atlantic Global, the world leader backing Trump's state of denial. This is 3 days ago. This is November 18th.
Backing his denial.
Hold on. Presidents and their challengers haven't always admitted defeat. Just look at Mexico. The Atlantic is actually comparing Trump to a tin pot from Mexico. Okay. That's bold. I'll give him to them on that one.
He's not a tin pot from Mexico. He's a tin pot from fucking Florida, man.
New York and then Florida, but yeah. Anyway, we've been going for over two and a quarter hours now.
Yeah. It's not our longest, but yeah. We were actually going to go on, for anyone listening, we were going to go on into a second part, which maybe we will actually break off into doing another stream in the very near future.
Yes, just keep in mind, and I'm letting this know for our audience sake, and just reminding Radio Brain here, this coming week is the Thanksgiving holiday for those of us here in America. No, we're not you filthy Canadians who think that October is Thanksgiving. And I've got family that are going to be visiting from afar for this holiday. And yeah, His Royal Majesty, the Lord of San Francisco, the Lord Protector of Sacramento, Gavin Newsom, or King Gavin Newsom, can go fuck himself. I will have as many people as I want in my house as I can possibly stuff in my house because it's my fucking house. Anyway, so it's going to be Thanksgiving week up here in the States, and I'm going to be very, very busy this whole coming next week. I've got family up the whole thing. I've got some major personal events going on. Nothing bad. All's good. So I figure, what do you think, Radio? We'll try to fit in something, maybe a short half-hour, 45-minute stream sometime in the middle of the week.
Oh, I don't know. We'll talk about it later. But
yeah, I will just say the 24th, 25th, and 26th are completely loaded for me. I am absolutely busy for those days.
Yep. And I don't have anything on, but I'm just a cunt.
Yeah. Honestly, guys, I mean, we've hit that, with our all of our technical issues and the holiday season and stuff. We've hit that time of the year where it's just really rough to get anything solid on the ground. But I think now is the perfect time to talk about the branching out that we mentioned earlier tonight.
Yeah, so we're going to start doing some regular streams once a week where we basically talk about politics and whatnot, or current events, and possibly shoot the shit about other things. And this will be a more light-hearted sort of, well, not entirely light-hearted, but it'll be the kind of thing where we try and avoid rank punditry, by which I mean we will be engaging in rank punditry at some point or another. Yeah.
Well, I was talking about also what we were planning to branch off into.
Yep. And the second thing is we're going to start, as mentioned earlier, we're going to start doing some streams covering some books. One of the we've got one idea, which is we're going to break up the Federalist Papers and get stuck into discussing it, dissecting it, and summarizing it. But before that, we're going to cover a few other things. And at the moment, it looks like we're going to start with Plato's Republic.
And let's stay with that. We'll start. Well, okay. So what I was gonna think was, well, no matter what, of course, we're gonna start at some point soon. We'll start the breakdown of the Federalist. But that aside, I would kind of say leave it up audience. If audience doesn't respond, it'll just be up to us deciding. We can do. I was thinking we would start something along the lines of we would start looking into and breaking down Plato's Republic book by book, because it's like 8 or 9 books, which are really just chapters. Or, and we could do that first, then we could do the next one, which we shush, let's not mention that one yet, and then move on to the Federalist. Or we could do those parallel to when we do the Federalist streams. What do you think? Audience, anything you have to say or think about beyond below? I'd say that
actually I'm going to veto that one. We're definitely aiming to do the Federalist Papers later, because that was because this is a big subject. We're actually going to be sort of practicing a bit on other subjects.
So do you want to? So in other words, we're going to move through the Republic and our next piece first.
Yes.
Okay, there we are. All right, guys, so, you have something to look forward to. We're going to start with Plato's Republic. We've got the next thing lined up will be right in the vein, but equally interesting and good. But you'll have to wait till we get through the Republic to find out what that is.
Yes, and it's not porn, by the way, just in case anyone's wondering.
No, and I wouldn't want to look at... No.
Yes, you're not going to hear me sitting going, well, I found this one very hard to do.
All right, so...
In the words of Richard E. Grant, yeah.
So very quick summarization. We're going to go through the Federalist. We're going to continue the Supreme Court of Public Opinion stream, which is our shooting the shit. And then we're also going to start up a stream where we go through Plato's The Republic. Basically, we're going to go through certain pieces of interesting literature. But we're going to start with Plato's Republic. We're going to get to the Federalist Papers. Definitely stick with us for that, if anything else. If you're the kind who doesn't sit there and tolerate the two of us rambling on for sitting here now going 2 hours and 20 minutes. Anyway, I think this will be a great place to leave you guys. Thank you for watching. And as always with the Prometheans, I'm Mizaran.
And I'm Radio Brain.
Have a good evening, everyone. And have a great weekend, actually. It's Friday here in the States. It's Saturday, and upside down, head in the future weirdo didn't warn us about Pearl Harbor 9/11, you filthy Aussie bastard. Land. Have a good evening, everyone.
Yeah, unless you're a commie, in which case...
Yeah, in that case, go fuck... Well, if you're a
commie... Get in the bread line.
If you're a commie, get in the helicopter. Bye. Yeah.